There's scenes here at Perry Park.
Chris Lynn has taken the wild thing and sent him.
Oh, Bateman! Yes!
And welcome to episode 50 of the Beyond the Sidelines podcast. That's our half century, boys. Raise the bat.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, raise the bat for that one. 50 not out. Joined by Campbell and Finn, of course, every week. Boys, how are we today?
Well, every week. I mean, I guess he was here last week.
Yeah.
I was here. I was technically here, and then I was here again in spirit, I guess.
in spirit, I guess.
Well, I mean, if the faithful don't know, we did previously, or we did.
They're gonna have to go listen to it for themselves.
Yeah.
But we recorded twice. I think that's what Gus was trying to say.
That's what I'm trying to say. And there was a little bit of a technical difficulty, and then I had gone to the Roosters game and I was unavailable, so I got a call in from you boys, and I was like,
"Yep, you're live cross, mate."
No,
fine, I'll step up.
But it worked out well. I thought
it did. Yeah. Again, plaudits to you. That was some of your finest work.
Yeah,
I think, Gusman.
I couldn't actually hear you boys. It was very loud in the stadium. I think I mentioned it, but as soon as I started talking, the people over the loudspeaker, I swear they don't know how to turn their loudspeakers the mics down or anything.
Yeah. You'd think after 50 episodes
they were just blasting it.
Find the name what it's called.
I mean, they were just blasting it. It was just obnoxious,
Baffling.
honestly. And it was so loud that you can't even hear you can't even tell what they're saying. So it was just a pain. But the game itself was
you
also
really enjoyed
a bit of a pain. It was a very good game. It was probably the best game of rugby league that I've ever seen.
Well, that's what they're calling it. They're calling it, one of the greatest games ever.
Shame my side lost, but it was unbelievable.
Mate, let's not dance around this. Nostradamus-esque from you. If you listen back to the last episode, Gus highlighted Pappenhausen as the player who was most dangerous, who could cause heartbreak for a side, CJ.
He did.
And didn't he just?
I hate being a genius at everything, honestly. It's just...
Yeah, architecture though.
Yeah, true.
Also, Russia being good at the World Cup.
They did score the first try of the World Cup, so...
Look, I think Gus, he's had some shockers, but man, he's a genius.
I also tipped England to win the World Cup, and they got very close.
Oh, cool.
So.
Here's your participation ribbon. Yeah, of course. There's been a South African rugby fan for, 6 months now?
20 years.
No, of course, guys, we are chatting about one thing in particular today. Feeling ripped off when your mate spoils a result for you, Campbell.
Yes. Well, I assume, when you're a true fan, you whatever happens, I mean, you, Gus, you watch every single game the Roosters play, rain, hail or shine.
Yeah.
So I assume, if I've seen a result that the Roosters have won, I'm going to say, hey, mate, good game for the Roosters. So naturally, Finn says he's a Hurricanes fan, so he says.
Yeah.
So I watch the game because I'm a true sports fan. I do my research
you watched
for the show.
The last 10 minutes, probably?
No, I watched the last half, the second half. But I go, oh, mate, Canes looked good. Good win for them.
Yeah.
And he goes, you're kidding. And he goes, shit, I haven't watched the game. I'm like, oh, sorry, mate.
Wow.
I was out and about, Gusman. I couldn't watch it, so I had it on record.
So you recorded.
Socialite, you.
Well, you know how I am.
You know what,
mate, post-COVID, I'm just a different beast.
I mean, you never say that again.
You must have been super happy, I guess, or a little bit happy that they won.
No, I mean, no. It took all the enjoyment out of it, Gusman. In a sense, Campbell. It's all right, I forgive you. Actually, you know what? I don't, but I will eventually.
Yeah, well, I had a 7-leg multi that had already won 5 legs that fell over because Man City lost to Southampton, so I'm really happy at the moment.
And I said it would be Tottenham who screwed it up for you, but it was Man City. Anyway, no, back on yours. It's like, honestly, I think it's your fault that the fact that you missed the game. It's not Campbell's fault that he told you
it's not
that they won.
It's not, Gusman, but it's I don't know, there's a bit of courtesy, I think.
What is he supposed to say?
Mate,
have you watched? He can't expect that you've recorded.
I just assume you're a true fan and you watch the game.
I am a true fan. I flew over to Westpac Stadium at the time, Wellington
just watch them when they're
itself, to watch them win the grand final in 2016. I'm as true blue as it gets when it comes to the
You like
Wellington.
the Auckland Blues then?
Yeah.
True blue.
Yeah.
Funny.
True cane doesn't really work.
It doesn't work, mate. So just appreciate what I'm trying to say.
Okay, yeah.
I'll forgive you eventually. Right now, let it heal.
It's a bit of bad blood. Beef on the pod, boys. Beef on the pod. No, but I went to the Reds game. Thanks for asking, boys.
How was the Reds game?
Yeah, the Reds game was good.
Did anyone spoil it for you?
No, because I was there.
Yeah, fascinating.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
No, it was a really good game. Good performances all round. Good win. I was very nervous towards the end. Jock Campbell's got to lose his spot, surely.
No, I don't think he will. I think
Surely.
I think Brad Thorne, I think he's going to go. He's changed positions because he played 5 games in a row at fullback. I think they're going to go, okay, let's give them some time to settle in and work on that partnership with Bryce Hegarty. They were both awful, man.
Both of them were
But
terrible.
also,
I think just put him back at 15 and find a new winger. Josh Fluke, give him a run.
Also,
Anything.
can you really change a winning side?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think I worked it out. They left 10 points on the board from kicking.
I think
It
a lot
should
of
not have been as close as it was.
I think it's very tough to change a winning formula. You're not gonna, as a coach, you're not gonna.
They
weren't
didn't
convincing.
contribute.
They didn't do anything to the team. They did
Even
not.
then, like, really, I don't think Brad Thorne's going to be making any changes to
I think he
the
should.
site.
I think he's got to.
I know better than Brad Thorne, Kiwi legend, and Reds coach.
Yeah.
I know
How
better
old
than-
was he on the day of the World Cup final in 2011?
Who?
Brad Thorne?
I don't know.
To the day?
I don't know how
don't
old
know.
he is today.
Well, I don't know the.
Ask me.
How old was he?
37.
36 years, 262
Oh, I was
days.
close. Hey, I didn't
Hey,
even know.
Why do you know this?
36 years, 262 days. That was the outbreak of my passion for sport, Campbell. I remember reading that in a magazine and going,
You are a loser.
this is who I'm going to be. I was about 10.
Oh my word! You're boffing.
Not
mate.
10. I couldn't have been 10. To be fair, the grand final was
In
when I was 11.
2011.
So
Yeah.
He knows so much about so little.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just- it's
if
just-
only you directed that brain power towards something. You could be an engineer.
I was about
you
to
could
say,
be a lawyer.
You could be an entrepreneur. Could have started your own business
Hey, we're
and
kind of entrepreneurs.
I was going to start.
Little bit.
I was going to say make millions. We're not exactly making millions,
We're
but
not
I was
exactly
going to
making anything, to be
I wanted
honest.
to be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. I was going to start a bagpiping business, but
already
taken.
already
Forget it,
taken
mate.
by that one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm a
It's a
bit
good
of,
idea though.
I'm a bit of a nerd. I will say this: the fact Josh Fluke, isn't it?
Fluke,
Yeah.
yeah.
The fact he didn't get a run.
I know.
That I think to me means that both Jock and Bryce have their spots safe for another week.
Well, can we talk about the substitutions? I was very.
It was a
They
bit-
were very odd.
It was a bit.
You take McDermott off in the last 10 minutes when you're down. You take Harry Wilson off towards the end when they may have been down at that point as well. There were just some very weird
did he come back on?
substitutions. No, I
It was
don't
like
think
an injury replacement,
I
or
don't
was that
think so.
someone else?
Well, I
with-
mean, that's very strange because Harry Wilson's form, he's been their best player.
Yeah,
He was.
undoubtedly.
he went a bit quiet. I think in this game, certainly with ball in hand,
Yes.
he
so. Made a few fumbles, I thought.
he
But he's
let-
so dangerous
but-
that it's just.
his effectiveness was in defence. He didn't miss
Yeah.
a tackle. I think he made 12 or 10 or something off the
Yeah.
top of my head. So
which
he
is
was.
usually not the strength of his game.
It's not.
he's good at it, but-
Normally, he's.
I mean, he scored a try, and we're saying he had a bad game.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of when he woke up and attacked Campbell. Before,
Slow start.
normally he's the guy who runs with the ball offload. He's actually quite dangerous and almost a bit, not childish, but he needs to mature a bit when it comes to his offloading at times, I think. But normally he's that guy.
yeah.
And I think in the first minute or two, he knocked the ball on. And from that moment on, it was, I'm taking the back seats, a very, very good introduction to Super Rugby starting. And Fraser McRide, who got his first start, the former 2019 Australian under-20s Wallabies captain.
And famously, Grammar Boy.
And more famously, a Beyond the Sidelines first guest.
The
Exactly.
inaugural, the first man himself to,
Yeah.
sit down with us in a jack pack and everything. It was
Exactly.
a famous day.
Go
it
back
was.
to it if you haven't
Yeah.
already.
Amazing.
Don't. I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's shocking.
No, but again, he played fantastic, Campbell. I think that back row has
Yeah.
to be the shining light of rugby in this country, full stop.
For sure, which we'll get on to. Should we get on
Yeah,
to it now?
let's get onto
just
it now.
straight
I mean,
into it.
yeah, of course, we're going to be talking about.
See, I thought we already had, but okay.
Yeah, I didn't think we had.
Right, we're going to be talking about Rugby Australia. This new competition, has it worked? Do you reckon it'll reinvigorate rugby in Australia? We'll be talking about all that and much, much more right now. All right, boys, and the first game, of course, of the rugby restart, the Rugby AU competition,
first
the
ever game.
Reds. We mentioned it before, but the Reds defeating the Waratahs, of course, final score 32-26. What did you guys think about the Reds' overall performance? I know Finn gave one player in their side a rating of a 4. Maybe you can explain yourself there, Finn, because you've had to do it a little bit lately. But why'd you give old Jockey a 4
Man,
for
John
his
Campbell,
performance?
good guy.
Good guy.
He's a fine guy.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to him?
No. Seems like a good guy.
He is a good guy.
I like his story.
But I will say, I spoke to him once and he was very nice. So I've got
Yeah.
nothing against Jock Campbell. But when you don't touch a rugby ball, or you touch it 4 times in 80 minutes, you don't deserve anything more than a 4.
Exactly.
You just don't.
You don't.
Yeah.
He made, I want to say 13 metres.
Yeah, he made a below average impact on the game.
He did. So I can't for the life of me justify anything higher.
Yeah.
And you can almost say that a 4 is generous.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can't just give him you can't give him a participation medal for showing up. You can't give him a 5 for just being out there.
He was an absolute passenger on the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, get him off.
usually he's a great player and he's a important part of that red side, but yeah, you can't just hand out scores like that. But who did impress you in that game?
First and foremost, I think stand-up player of the round, I think, has to be Tate McDermott. He was absolutely incredible for the Queensland Reds, and if he's not in Dave Rennie's Wallabies plans, well, Dave Rennie will be very quickly out of a job, I think, CJ. But what were your thoughts on this man? Because he set up Wright's try. Mm-hmm. He scored his own with a very cheeky tap and go. Now,
Very
on the
cheeky.
TV, you wouldn't have seen this. On the TV, a replay was being shown.
Yep, it's very smart.
And then, a replay was being shown. Then Tate scores, and it flicks back to live when Tate celebrated.
That's what everyone was doing in the stadium too.
Yeah.
Like you just hear, wait, because I was up the other end of the field on that side, and we were like, wait, what? What just happened?
Yeah.
And we see the replay, and we're like, oh my god, because he's such a. He's very athletic, very quick on his feet. He made a really good line break. Unfortunately, chased down
by Jack Mannix, yeah.
Yep, but what strikes me about him is he's very smart, very, I guess, cerebral player. Like
Tempered.
He was just acting, strolling over. He knew what he was doing. He saw huge gap on the wing there. I think he asked the ref, "Hey, am I good to go?" Taps and goes, scores a try, easy to like. And, you know, he got the first 50-22.
Yeah, first 50-22. Again, that's one of the, I think the 7 rule changes that we've seen in Super Rugby AU. Yeah, so basically, he had the ball in the halfway, kicked it, bounced into the 22, the Reds get the ball back. In a very, very good position, CJ, where I think they had a line out from about 7 metres.
Yeah, and I would say they were dominating, they were definitely dominating the scrum the whole game. I think they were in the first half, they were pretty dominant in the line out, I'd say. But second half, when Alex Murphy came on, I'm usually a pretty big fan of Alex Murphy, but he did not play very well.
Man, they were pretty mixed, I think, from the line out all game. Yeah. I think they hit their first 2 targets and then pretty much missed the rest.
Yeah.
So
it was a not straight bit called, and it was a pretty bad one too. And there were a few where it was like, they need to work on that line.
I think I gave both hookers a 6.5.
Yeah.
So I think there were elements of, yes, they did their job in some aspects, but they also really didn't. I think the line out is going to be quite weak until they get that match fitness and whatnot back, familiarity. But
yeah, also there's some holes at second row for them. You know, Angus Blythe got knocked out very early, which was hard to see, and pretty good debut from, I can't remember what his name was. Like, he didn't do anything bad. Like, he wasn't a liability.
But again, it's the same thing with Jock. Sorry, guys, I know you want to speak. But it's the same thing with Jock. He wasn't so much a passenger, but he wasn't effective.
I agree.
And so I think I gave him a 5.5 because, again, you're on the field, you're doing the bare minimum. It looks like, to be fair, being in the tight 5, you put your head in some very dark places, Gusman. Places where you just can't see on TV, right? It's all very... Yeah. The technicalities of their position you can't really grade. So he might have been doing a lot more than what we were seeing, but
you got to grade them around the contest, I'd say.
Exactly. So, anyway,
he wasn't a liability. But
let's get this off your chest.
Now the game itself was, of course, classified as a state of origin like contest.
Tempo's back, baby.
Yeah. Do we think that this? I mean, from the first game at least, do you think Rugby Australia is sort of going in a new direction? Do you think it's a positive start to this new competition?
Well, let's hope so. That was the Reds' first win over the Waratahs in, I think, 7 years.
Yeah.
So it was really
2013.
Yeah, so it was really good to see. And I was pretty confident going into the match.
Yeah.
I think the Waratahs heading into this, man, before COVID hit, I think they'd won
0-5?
One from 6 matches.
Yeah, okay.
So they'd lost 5. So basically, they're a team who simply no one's really expecting, despite their history, and I guess their standing in the game of years gone by, no one's expecting them to stand up and really contest in Super Rugby AU. I think everyone's looking at next week's game against the Force as a potential opportunity for the Force to maybe get one up over a team in Super Rugby AU because they're at home. And they're not at home. They've got because of WA, whatever. But still, it's an opportunity because I think the Waratahs, they were pretty underwhelming at the beginning of the year. They were better than I expected.
They were definitely better I thought it would be a blowout.
Paul Gallen giving them a pep talk in the week leading up
Oh,
to
did
it.
he? Wow.
Yeah, I
okay.
thought I told you guys that last week,
I
didn't I?
think you did, but
No.
I thought you were joking because I can never really tell half the time with you, to be honest.
Just a comedian.
Do you know what was said?
Probably words of encouragement,
Did the
Gusman.
Cam Smith one.
Coming from a very successful
Yeah.
State of Origin captain there,
Exactly.
in
Very
Paul
true.
Gallen.
Exactly. You might lose this one. You might lose the next one. You might lose the next 8, but you'll get them on the 9th.
Exactly. If at first you don't succeed,
Try
again.
No.
Yeah, but I mean, you were at the game.
Yeah.
What was the sort of? Because I mentioned that the NRL game, the atmosphere was still there, even though there weren't as many people.
Yeah.
Did you feel like there was still an atmosphere at this game?
It's not what it normally is, and it's not what it's
Of
normally
course,
like
because there's not as
being-
many people.
Yeah, and I mean, there might be more of an atmosphere at a league game just due to how
Fans.
both,
It's the culture, mate.
Get 'em
It's
on
the culture,
side.
exactly.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
like
yeah.
the Union fans aren't really as, I guess, loud.
Chinos don't spill your light beer.
Chinos,
Yeah.
exactly. You
Paying
got-
with a credit card rather than a $50 note.
Oh,
Who
but
pays
wait,
with
who
cash?
pays
Are you
with cash,
kidding?
Yeah,
mate?
well, that's league fans.
They picked it
so
up from-
no,
I'm not going to say it.
I think I mentioned this to you boys, but I did
Nothing. Go.
I think I mentioned this to you boys, but I did a little bit of work at the O'Brien Group, which is like they do the drinks and stuff and the food at the games.
Yeah, I've spoken
And
about this.
it's weird, but league fans, almost all of them pay with $50 bills, like cash.
I
A
think-
lot of, at least a lot of them, and then Union fans pay with card.
That's not
Strange.
Why is that, Gusman? Do you think that's a reflection of people
Probably
going...
the demographic.
No, but is that a reflection of people going there going, I'll pay by card because I'll only have one?
Yeah,
Versus
maybe.
leagueies going, I've got a $50 note. Let's buy 6.
I won this
Yeah.
on the pokes, not
Yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
boys.
On the
It's,
way
it's
here.
interesting. It was just
Exactly.
something that I guess I
Yeah,
noticed.
no,
there,
that's
but-
interesting. But no, it wasn't, I guess, as jovial and as loud. It was in certain aspects. I had some brothers, boys behind me, and they were getting quite loud, obviously, for Flukie and Wilson and Mick Wright, which was
Plenty
good
to
see.
cheer
Took it a
for,
bit-
though,
Took it
yeah.
a bit far sometimes, but, it's, yeah.
But overall, it was a good spectacle.
Yeah, a couple of Colts behind me. But yeah, no, it was really good. Really good game. And, it was good to be back in the stadium.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't like the staggered entry times. That sucked.
Mm.
I don't know. Did you have to do that?
No, we just all went in at the same time.
You probably didn't check your ticket. So you're supposed to actually arrive. On your ticket, it gives you a certain allocation depending on,
No.
gates and where you're sitting of when you have to walk in.
No.
And so it was like 6 to 6:15. Kickoff was at like 7:15.
That's crazy.
And so my mate Will and I, friend of the show, we came in. You guys have met him, yeah. We went in at like 6 and we were just to 6:15. We were watching some kids at the Pato skate park after the Pato skate park across the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Small, but
Yeah. But no, I went to the Caxton, then went down, and then we were waiting in the stadium for like an hour, just waiting for the game. It was like, oh, for God's sakes, we could have just come in later. Like we didn't know how strict they'd be. They're not going to go like you can't
they
come in.
weren't strict at all for.
No.
I mean, except for one security guard at the league, but it wasn't ridiculously strict. But people know what to do. So they know that to keep their distance already. They've been doing it for the last few months.
Yes.
Well, do they, mate?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some people who don't do that still, but I mean, I guess
Some
I think-
people,
I think
but most people are
Victoria.
following the rules.
It's relaxed a wee bit up here
Yes.
in Queensland. But I will say, boys, I think the opportunity that Rugby Australia has to kind of reignite the passion for rugby union is the fact that Queensland, the Brumbies, Australian teams will be winning.
Yes.
And that's something that we haven't seen in years gone by where every week is a struggle.
Yeah.
Now, that isn't necessarily the best reflection on Australian rugby as a whole, but it's an opportunity for these younger players to be blooded into a system where they're successful.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're high on confidence.
Winning culture.
And then
built.
they take that into the test environment where hopefully, I say this from an All Blacks point of view, hopefully the Wallabies can kind of, a bit more life in their team, Gusman,
Win
because
Bledisloe low for once.
I don't think they will.
Well, really, out of the
course they
Austra-
won't.
Let's hope so.
Of course
Yeah.
they won't,
All
Campbell.
mate.
Maybe.
Don't be so now, sorry.
Maybe.
Silly.
But really, over the last year or so, we've only really seen the Brumbies stand up as an Australian side. They've been the only sort of successful team.
I think, did I
And
mention,
even they've struggled against the good New Zealand sides.
Yeah.
were you here? Again, I said this on one of the 2 recordings last week. I don't even know which one it was, but basically the Brumbies, of the 6 games they played earlier in 2020, they only lost 1.
Yeah,
And that was
you
a-
did. Yeah, I did.
That was
hear
a
this one, yeah.
Highlanders conversion in the 83rd minute.
Yeah.
To see the Highlanders win by 1 point. Then they went to Hamilton, Hamilton,
Hamilton
the
City of
next
the
week,
future.
and they beat the Chiefs for the first time they beat a New Zealand team for the first time in
Yeah.
13 years on New Zealand soil, something like that. So it was, I don't know. I think they were the benchmark, and they will be the benchmark in Super Rugby AU. I think there is a final, which does incorporate a bit more unpredictability in terms of who's actually going to get the chocolates by season's end. But basically, I think this team head and shoulders above anyone else. But the Reds, man, they will build throughout the season. That's the danger. They are such a young team. So dangerous, Gusman. Everyone from 6 through to 9, even 10, if you want to include James O'Connor. Incredibly dangerous, all in the Wallabies fold there.
Yeah, well, I think the Reds are probably the second best team in the competition.
I would say so as well.
Yeah.
I mean, there's shouts of Melbourne Rebels, but I don't think so.
After their performance against...
Yeah, well, what was the score? The end score was 31-23?
Yeah, it was. So the Brumbies gained the chocolates in that one, 31-23, of course.
Yes.
The Rebels, they were in it, but... You know, the Brumbies just showed their class late on in the game. I believe it what was it, 17 unanswered points or something in the end.
Like that. Lolosio was really good.
Yeah.
10, he was very good, which is showing why Rajan Pasatoa is not getting a look in. Obviously, he's young as well.
To be fair, I think playing a Pasatoa, he's only 20, isn't he?
Yeah. Or maybe even younger.
Man,
I remember watching him.
He was playing last year.
Yeah,
exactly.
He was playing
So,
last year.
18, 19.
you know, picking a 19-year-old as your first choice fly half, that's dangerous. But I mean, Will Harrison, he's 20, and he's now very much
very good.
He's very much the man for the Waratahs.
Very good kicking game.
Very good. He
didn't miss,
controlled the game with so much ease. His maturity, CJ. You know, Curtly Beale going to Racing 92, and Paris Lebleu. It's very much Harrison's team now, the Waratahs,
100%.
and I think he is the next Wallabies 10.
I completely agree.
I think Tate, he's a lock for the scrum half position unless they want to, for some reason, go with Nick White, which I think is a possibility.
I think they'll take both of them to the next squad.
I think Tate's more dangerous as a. You need speed, and
they're
you
quite
need
similar though. Nick White is quite quick as well.
But it was how he sniped last week, Gusman. He doesn't like. I was thinking about it today, thinking of someone like Nick Phipps, who's been in and out of the Wallabies squad years gone by, right? But basically, he's traditional, where he runs up to a ruck and he passes it to his fly half, or he passes it to a pot of forwards or whatever. Tate McDermott, pretty much every time, he'll pick the ball up, lift it up to chest height, and dummy to run, pass it, maybe run, inside ball like he did for Wright.
It's the uncertainty in the defence.
Or he might kick a 50-22. Like,
he's got
the
pace to burn
uncertainty
too, so it's...
But I will say, when the 50-22 is not a rule at test match level, that does take some unpredictability out.
Still a good kick though.
Man, no, but
box kick's still important for a scrum half. Very important.
But I will, like, he is just hands down, he is the best scrum half in Australian rugby for the last few years, since Will Genia. And it doesn't surprise me that, you know, Tate's also been under the tutelage of Will Genia, I think, a couple of times.
I think you said it on the podcast.
At Ballymore, he did.
Yeah.
Listen back to that one. Again, actually, everyone in Jersey 7, 8 and 9, so that's Fraser McWright, Harry Wilson and Tate McDermott for the Reds, all friends of the show. So and they're all, man, they are all Wallabies in waiting.
Oh, exactly.
100%. Yeah, he played really well. And I does Joe Powell get a look in?
Man, he's played for them before.
Yeah.
Played for the Wallabies before, and he kind of fell out of that setup a little bit with Nick White and Nick Phipps, etc., etc. Will Genia
played a good game. Industrious, I'd probably call it, but not really anything special.
He's similar to Tate, where he's always been the fast halfback, hasn't he? Very, very quick passing, but also dynamic around the field. He could get a look in for that team. And I think that's the beauty of Super Rugby AU, Gusman, where it's kind of like those days where you play rep footy as a kid, whatever, where like...
Got Met North playing Met South.
But it's like, you know, every game's a trial.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't it? You know, New Zealand, they're doing North versus South for their All Blacks trial, but which I'm very keen for, by the way.
That'll be awesome. What, August 28th or something?
29th, Dad's birthday, so hopefully he's good for it.
Oh, he'll be good for it.
Yeah, to celebrate on the 30th, Pops. But basically, every game's a trial, and Billy Meeks, he mentioned this last week, the Rebel Centre, about how it's an opportunity for these players, Gusman, who are on the outer, to force their way in, because if you're the Wallabies 12 and I'm a Reds player at 12, if I get the better of you, man, I'm in with a shot here.
Exactly.
You know? I only have to prove myself against you to then prove myself to Dave Rennie.
He'll be watching these games very closely.
You think?
Yeah, I think so.
Probably.
Think so. No, but Will Harrison, I think, is an absolute shout for 10
Absolutely.
in the future. I think he should be included in the next squad.
But what does that do for James O'Connor?
I think he's starting. I think Will Harrison is the understudy, at least for the meanwhile. And then you can maybe shift Jock out to.
Well, Jock's not that old. How old is
30.
he?
30.
Is he 30?
He's
Wow.
He's 30.
Dude looks
Getting
23,
on.
honestly.
He's been playing since
Wait,
he was
Jock.
James O'Connor.
Yeah, James O'Connor. Yeah.
He's 30, but he's the oldest player in the Queensland Reds.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So
That
that's,
shows how
He doesn't
young
look
they are.
very old, but
well, that says
he's
something
still
about the
got-
Queensland Reds,
yeah.
doesn't it? And we were
Yeah.
chatting about this off air, Gusman, about the difference between, I guess, NRL,
Yeah.
such as the Broncos. Let's just divert away for half a second. The Broncos are quite young,
Yeah.
and it's not working.
Yeah.
The reason it works in rugby is because of the World Cup cycle. And because you
Exactly.
have all these players leaving, the Reds, the younger players then step up in the next World Cup cycle and it's their time to shine. And I mean, it's working wonders because it's everyone. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. It's across the board youth
Yeah.
and it's next generation, especially with the junior Wallabies having been so successful last year.
Yeah, 100%. And that forward pack is just full of talent. I mean, Taniela Tupou, arguably one of the better
Well, he's
players
under
on the field as well.
23.
Yeah.
Everyone
exactly.
forgets that. Everyone seems to, I fall into that trap sometimes thinking he's,
He's been around for ages.
yeah. I mean, he played, schoolboy rugby in Auckland.
Yeah.
So his journey is just bizarre. To be honest, why he's not playing for New Zealand?
Plus, stay with Australia.
Now,
Yeah, no,
So
no.
good.
It's just a bit, I don't know, it's a bit weird, picking and choosing
Yeah,
international
no,
eligibility
100%.
in a way. Like, to be fair, I don't know his story per se in terms of, his eligibility. If he, he must have parents or some form of connection with Australia.
well, this is a
but
pet hate of yours, isn't it?
it's not picking and choosing, man. I
Yeah.
think, if you're not good enough to play for New Zealand, which he would be, to be fair, then you don't get to play international rugby.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, that's
let him do
Now-
him, but yeah.
Yeah, the other side that we haven't seen yet is the Western Force, of course, new entrance into this
Justice.
this
Re-entry.
competition. Yeah, they're back. The Western Force.
will be happy.
Yeah, will they be firing in this competition or will they be sinking?
sinking.
No.
There,
that's
yes,
good,
I
you
was
got
thinking
it.
of a word.
You've got it.
Will they be down the bottom of the ladder?
Yes,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I think. Look,
I
I
hope
think
not, but... Well, I hope not, but they probably will be. They probably don't have the depth and the talent in the squad to lift themselves up, but, the tragic in me wants to see them do well.
Yeah.
But yeah, what do you reckon, Phineas?
I really need a cough.
That's why you threw it to me.
Yeah, man. I think again they're kind of just here to make up the numbers, try and make rugby a national game when it's not, because Perth they've been bloody successful over the last few years, or WA as a whole, in terms of keeping that fan base.
Yeah.
And this is just a way to kind of tap into that, I think. But they're here for the ride.
Well, we saw they were pretty
Do you need to talk about something, mate?
we
So
saw
for the
they were pretty
listeners at home,
impressed.
Finn's struggling over here.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know why, man.
Every episode he needs to cough or sneeze or something.
Like in the middle of an interview, you'll go,
Yeah.
so it took Miller.
that happened once.
Yeah.
It's every time.
It happened once during an
In that
interview.
interview, the other interview,
What?
I don't know, it's probably happened a million
yeah,
times.
it probably has. It probably
Probably
has.
has.
I think
It's usually just clearing your throat, like
Yeah. Sorry, pardon me.
yeah,
It's because I talk
Yeah.
far too much.
yeah.
It's my body telling
we
me.
know, mate. We
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Trust us, we know.
Okay.
But no, we did see the
intervention.
West.
Yeah.
We did see the Western Force in the NRC a little bit, so
Yeah, well, they won
and
the
they were
NRC.
impressive. They won it. Of course, they were going up against guys like Harry Wilson and Fraser McWright. So a lot of the current Queensland Reds side. So
It's how they dismantled that competition. though.
Yeah.
They won that final. I think 41-3.
Very
Yeah, they
convincing. Against
thumped
the Canberra
everyone.
Vikings,
Yeah, against Canberra in the
Yeah.
final.
which is pretty much the Brumbies.
Yeah, so again, they're a very good team, but again, can they make that step up when these teams such as the Reds now have their Wallabies back when they didn't, obviously,
That's
last
true
year?
in
So,
the NRC. Yeah.
but the Force in their defence have signed some very good players, notably Nick Frisbee,
yes.
who did play for the Wallabies, got the boot by Brad Thorne. I think he recently, rugby.com.au published an article on him saying, he was talking about how, he appreciates kind of Thorne going, yeah, your time's up. So I think
Interesting.
he's a good addition, though. He's a good addition, and they've brought back
Good
a few of the
experience.
players who were part of that 2017 Super Rugby campaign that ended it all.
yeah,
for the Western
well, I was
Force.
going to say bringing back some of those, I guess, Wallaby players, a little bit of experience to that side. Do you reckon that'll help them, just settle the nerves of some of the younger guys playing their first, I guess, Super Rugby games?
Well, I assume the team's mostly made up of offcuts of
Yeah.
other academies,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to say offcuts, but, Byron Ralston, for instance, and there's surely other players that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I would assume it's mostly offcuts of other academy prospects who
Yeah.
didn't really get a look in. But,
WA,
yeah.
they do have an all right academy, but you do see a lot of them coming over here and then kind of for schoolboy rugby and then kind of going back. There's a bit of that, I think.
Yeah.
I
But
think there was Mac Mason, was it? I mean, Rajan Pasatoa is a Perth boy.
exactly. There's there's I think a few players. Well, one player I can think of who played in our grade at BBC, who was I think had played it in WA. But anyway, but basically they'll be okay.
Yeah.
But I don't expect them to set this competition alight.
They'll compete. They'll be competitive.
We'll see.
Look, they'll compete against the Waratahs.
Yeah.
They
the Rebels.
They might compete against the Rebels.
Yeah.
Brumbies
might.
They will compete against the Reds for 40 minutes, and they will get snotted by the Brumbies.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I want to be optimistic.
Impress
CJ.
us, Western Force. Impress us.
But yeah, you mentioned Byron Ralston, a bloke who I basically taught him everything he knows.
Wow.
Same with Fraser and stuff. And
Yeah.
I never
Harry
played-
Wilson.
I never played with
Fraser.
Fraser
either.
Yeah.
No, but Byron, we were centre partners back at Taylor Bridge, so you know.
Didn't
Yeah.
he spray you for doing something?
No, that's just one moment that kind of stands out in terms of our playing history together. We're playing against East down at Graceville Memorial
that's a
Park.
good spot.
And I was at 13, he was at 12, and I rushed out and basically left a big hole. They run through, go coast to coast, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Like the Reds on the weekend.
Yeah. And he was basically just telling me, be smarter. And I was. So I
So
retired.
you haven't taken any of that to...
You retired. Smartest decision you ever made.
No,
That's a business
Instead of
decision.
fixing the problems, just quit.
Hey, I take that mantra into everything I do.
Exactly. That's the way to do it.
I went to private school. I don't do things when they're difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but again, he's one player. He was the top try scorer in QPR, Queensland Premier Rugby last year. He was part of the Queensland Reds Academy as well, so the fact they haven't managed to hold on to him, I think is a bit disappointing, but it shows the depth that Queensland Rugby has, gents. And he'll be a good addition, a handy addition, I think, for the Western Force. I don't think he'll be in the Wallabies, but I think he could be a standout for the Western Force in terms of youth and injection, and possibly if the Force don't get called back for next year, because we still have no idea what next year's going to look like, guys. But
can we speculate on that a little bit? Do you think they'll keep the same competition, or will they be bringing New Zealand and South Africa back into
I think
the picture?
Not South
It's
Africa.
widely believed, that South Africa are going to the Pro 14.
And Argentina as well. What's happening
Argentina.
with them? They're
Apparently,
gone.
the Hago Aires from Buenos Aires
They'll just
apparently
fall apart,
They're
probably.
gone.
Man, they were telling their players apparently, a month and a half ago,
Japan's
start
already
looking
gone.
overseas. But I think it's widely been believed that Trans-Tasman, the competition is what's going to happen. But I think I read last week that New Zealand Rugby are considering expanding Super Rugby Aotearoa.
Which cities?
I have no idea.
And keeping it to New Zealand only.
I believe so, Gusman. Don't quote me on that. But
Picton Wolverines.
Yeah.
Picton side.
Well, that could be.
Invercargill.
What would you do? Invercargill,
just Queenstown. Queenstown.
Well,
Would be a
that could either be very good or very, very bad for
I just
Australia.
don't think you have enough cities.
I think. If Australia can expand themselves on just a domestic competition, they get maybe 8 to 10 sides in
no
the competition.
way.
Right now they got 5. You can't survive
Where
with
are you
only
gonna go?
5 teams.
Adelaide is pretty much the only other place you're going to go.
Well, you try and get another Sydney team, or you try and get another
There's not enough talent.
another Victorian side,
there is
or
Shoot Shield. Shoot Shield is quite good. I think same
another
with QPR.
Queensland side, maybe a Gold Coast. I don't know.
I don't think you
I'm
need
just
to.
trying to
Gold
think
Coast would be
of.
good, actually. I
I'm
can
just
see
trying
that.
to think of how they
Newcastle.
might
Yeah.
expand it, because they got the talent in Queensland. You just mentioned it. Maybe a Gold Coast side would work.
Yeah, Gold Coast side could work. That's the first time we've ever said that on the
Yeah,
show, by the way.
yeah.
Gold Coast side
Well, I
could
mean,
work.
the
Well, I mean, they're
the
actually performing quite well. The Suns, the Titans are doing.
Yeah, Matt Rao's injured, so we'll see how they go.
Yeah.
I will say, I think Australia would hurt themselves, be at their detriment, to cloud their reality of being successful if they had their own competition.
Yeah.
Because I think if you watch the games last weekend, now I was watching the games with someone who hasn't watched much rugby, and she commented on the fact that the New Zealand teams are a lot more physical. And she, after watching 20 seconds of the New Zealand game,
Interesting.
and kind of, you could get carried away by that. If the Waratahs start winning again, and they start winning titles, if they win 2 titles in a row, and they start going, Rugby Australia is back. Let's get on the Wallabies hype train.
Well, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong
though.
with that, Gusman. But then they get to the international stage where the gap has just widened because they're not
You're not
versing.
playing against the best
I
competition. in the
guess.
No, this is the danger because they're not versing New Zealand teams, and they
False
start
sense of security.
false sense of security, CJ, and they start going, "We're better than we are."
Okay, but then you could look at it the other side. The Australian teams, they're building their confidence. They're learning how to win, because in the previous Super Rugby, Australian sides would rarely beat New Zealand anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, if you're winning now and you're building that winning confidence and that winning culture in a side, surely you can translate it over to the Wallabies and you put up a bit more of an effort.
I think that's what this year's for. But at least winning confidence, winning cultures. And then I think, you go back to
I think you can look at it both ways.
I think having the New Zealand teams in the competition is an indication of where rugby in this country is. It shows that the gap is still wide. And even though the Wallabies can compete on their day, New Zealand is still head and shoulders above where the Wallabies are at.
Yeah.
I think the 5 best academies in the world, mate.
3.
At
least tell the joke right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. My bad.
Fiji, Samoa, and Tonga. Right. Crowd laughs. Thank you, Eddie Jones.
He laughs.
But basically,
it's a good one.
I don't know. I think, personally, I'd like to see New Zealand kind of do their own thing. I think the only reason they wouldn't is for money.
Do you think Australia would even pull down New Zealand a little bit? Do you think New Zealand would do better if they went on their own?
I think a bigger comp helps. I think, you got more scheduling. It certainly helps because you're not playing the same 5 sides.
Yeah.
It kind of gets boring when you're playing one team has a bye every 2 or every 3 weeks. It's kind of like...
I don't know.
Yeah, that's why they're probably thinking of expansion because, we played the Crusaders
Not enough sides,
3 weeks ago. Like,
exactly.
We know what's going to happen.
I like the idea of the Mighty 10 Cup over in New Zealand, so the provincial competition, having that is kind of their premier competition. I think that could be cool. And I think that's where the issue over expanding Super Rugby comes in because each province has been associated with a Super Rugby team for years, like 20 years. And you bring in another team and it starts, cutting that up a little bit and it gets, I don't know. Yeah. It actually get quite political. I think in terms of Hawke's Bay no longer associated with the Hurricanes, now associated with the Tornadoes or something, very similar teams. Yeah. Big rivalry there.
The Tornadoes. Very creative there.
Hurricanes, Tornadoes.
Well, we mentioned it last week. You can't think of any Kiwi names for teams. It's the White Ferns or the Kiwis.
Well, they're quite good with their Super Rugby names, though.
Yeah, I guess.
They're not too bad. You got Hurricanes, Blues is
Crusaders. Crusaders is a good name.
Thought Blues is a bad name for a team.
Yeah, that's it.
We've seen it, like Carlton is the same. Like,
well,
it's
actually,
just like
that's what confuses me about the Reds, man, because the Reds are called the Reds, but they wear maroon.
Yeah.
It's not red anymore.
They used to wear red. Yeah.
Now it's maroon because they go, Queenslander.
Yeah.
And to be fair, they I guess tap into that. But the Roar, I think they do that best, where they wear the maroon jersey only against the Sky Blues Sydney FC.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be quite cool.
Yeah, I do prefer the maroon jersey to the red one.
Oh, yeah.
So do I, but it's not red.
No, I agree.
Stop calling yourself the Reds if you're not going to wear red.
What are you going to go? The Queensland Koalas? Yeah.
That's their other logo.
Yeah,
I think, it's not exactly the most fierce and intimidating.
Drop bears.
Yeah, jeez.
Good drop bear.
There you go.
The most ferocious animal on this planet.
Tell all your Americans
gents, just to finish this one up, can Super Rugby AU reignite the passion for rugby in this country? We'll start with you, Siege.
I think it can, at least in the short term. I think it can while this competition's going on. People are going, the Reds are winning. Queenslanders and Australians love a bandwagon. That's just the truth, right? They're fairly fair weather. They're going to go, the Reds are winning. The Waratahs are winning. Jokes, I won't say that.
I think I said this last week.
Did you say it?
I think so.
I don't know. I don't know if you did.
I'll let you take it.
Well,
proceed.
All right, whatever. I think, at least in the short term, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they will.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you there. Yeah, of course. I think the big decision is whether they merge with New Zealand Rugby or whether they go on their own. I think if they do go on their own, they need more teams. Obviously, you can't have a competition with 5 teams, so whether that's introducing Gold Coast side, another New South Wales side. I think it could work if they go by themselves as well. I think that wouldn't be the worst idea because, to create a domestic competition, I think Australians would care more.
Commercially,
I don't think Australians could care when we play New Zealand side because we know we're going to lose. So,
but what does that say about the national game in terms of the Wallabies and
I think our national side's struggling regardless. So I think the fact that we build a little morale in Australia right now for the actual domestic competition, I think it'll translate for the international game.
I agree.
I think people have more confidence and I think they'll want to support the Wallabies more, and I think the Wallabies will perform better if they get that support.
Yeah, that's well said. Personally, I'd love to see a Gold Coast and Newcastle team.
Yeah, would be great.
That'd be awesome. I think there would be a bit of a market for it in, say, Adelaide. I think there'd be a team you could play there, but it'd be very similar to the introduction of the Melbourne Rebels. I think it'd be a bit weird for a few years, but before you know it, there'll be a fan base. But I think Australia needs New Zealand a lot more than New Zealand needs Australia.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of, rugby and, getting eyeballs on TV and whatnot. Because as Australians, you'd watch the Hurricanes Chiefs or whatever if it's a good game.
Yeah.
If the two teams are in form, because that's good rugby. Yeah. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to watch. But we haven't got that with the Australian teams because they struggle.
Yeah.
So that's what Super Rugby AU can do, because teams are now successful, aren't they, against one another? But I will say, Rugby Australia, I understand stadiums are only 25% full or whatever, but please advertise.
Yes,
This
100%. Who's the marketing pigeon over there?
Seriously, because, I'm a rugby tragic. You guys enjoy it as well, obviously, but it's, that's the only reason I knew it was on and cared about it. I don't think you did.
No, I didn't even know.
So
that's
it's they're not only losing the Code War, they're getting demolished here, CJ. Yeah. It's an absolute massacre in terms of they've just rolled over and given up.
But I mean, that's another story. They just don't have the cash right now to do anything.
You have cash to put an ad on TV.
They only just got their broadcasting deal, which was like 15 million.
Mate, what the hell are these people, the board of directors, doing at Rugby Australia if they can't advertise and they don't give a shit about the direction of the game in this country?
Yeah.
That's their job.
Facebook ads in at least. I mean, I managed to get free tickets from work because we were giving them away in the week and we couldn't give them all away.
Yeah.
Look, they don't do anything. And then when people go, oh, we don't want to go to the rugby, they twiddle their thumbs and go, well, what else can we do? Anything. Gusman, it's seriously, they're just rolling over and submitting at the moment, and it's piss poor and it's shit.
Yeah, I think I saw one Facebook ad. One Facebook or an event.
Yeah.
I don't even think I saw an ad.
And that was by Super Rugby.
Yes, exactly.
Investic Super Rugby, their Facebook page made the event, not Rugby Australia. Rugby Australia need to be posting about it, going, this is your chance, Australia, to watch your team be successful.
Yeah.
Get behind your team and make rugby great again, because it really was.
Exactly.
Pull your finger out, Rugby Australia.
Absolutely. Again, it's a lot of potential, boys, for the Wallabies as well. The young guns who could gun through.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that word twice in one sentence into the Wallaby setup.
So you think it'll work? Domestic competition?
I think so, Gusman.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us for episode 50. We've enjoyed it very much once again, and we'll be back for more next week for episode 51.
Getting so close.
Yeah,
boys.
we're getting so close. Getting very close to a year.
We
of
are.
course, that'll be 52. Episode 52 will be a full year doing this. Yeah, sorry.
Quick shout out, Johnny McMurtry.
Yeah.
McMurtry. Guess from what episode?
14, 10. Yeah.
Also 10.
He swung us a nice message on the podcast, on our Facebook or Instagram actually.
Yeah.
So we really appreciate that. Thanks, Johnny. Top bloke. Go check out all the stuff he does. Coaching the coaches. Is that what it is?
Yeah, coaching the
coaches. Go check him out.
And that's all about coaching for rugby union as well. So he knows his stuff, and he loves the Irish rugby union side.
Poor side.
Yeah, he's so unlucky. We were messaging with him during the World Cup, I think, or after Ireland lost, and he was devastated.
Because Ireland got knocked out by New Zealand.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of chat from my end to his. Yeah. And then the week after, he suddenly became an England fan.
Yeah, which doesn't often happen with the Irish.
Yeah.
Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out our Instagram at _Beyond the Sidelines Facebook at Beyond the Sidelines. We're on YouTube, and that's where you can see our pretty faces, and also on Spotify and Apple Podcast if you just want to listen to the audio because you think we're a bunch of mugs.
Soothing voices.
Anyway, thank you very much, and see you next time.